2012, she got about 0.4% of the popular vote. This time, the polls have her at 4%. We have her now joining us live, Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein. Dr. Stein, good to see you this morning. So we played a clip from you earlier, just a couple of minutes ago, attacking Trump for being warlike. And it seems to me that if you compare Trump and Hillary, Trump has supported no wars that I'm aware of. Hillary Clinton supported the war in Iraq, the escalation in Afghanistan, a war against Syria, and of course she was one of the prime movers behind the killing of Gaddafi in Libya. On the question of war, aren't you closer to Trump than you are to Hillary?
I think you could say so. I think Hillary has an absolutely catastrophic war record. On the other hand, Trump has talked about his secret plans that will obliterate resistance in various areas of the Middle East, which is rather worrisome that he won't tell us how he's going to obliterate the enemy in the Middle East. And he's calling again for the strongest military ever. Right now, that military is eating up 50% of our discretionary budget. Almost half of your income tax is going to support the military. And these wars that have not made us safer, in fact, they're making us less safe. Terrorism only keeps gaining more territory, becoming more strong and more vicious. So this is a failed policy, and unfortunately Donald Trump doesn't really stand up to that. He calls for more of the same, though you're right, he doesn't have the track record of these devastating wars that Hillary actually does.
And Ms. Stein, I want to get your thoughts on Julian Assange, because from WikiLeaks, and there's tens of thousands of emails that were released by WikiLeaks, caused a lot of convention chaos. Debbie Wasserman Schultz even booed out of a job almost. He was satellited into the convention and he was deemed a hero. What does that mean?
Well, thanks to whistleblowers like Julian Assange, we actually know now about the government spying on us, on our phone calls, on our emails, on our web communications and habits. So there are actually violations of our constitutional rights that are going on behind closed doors. And now that we've been alerted, we've actually started to take steps to correct that. So I think it's very important. Whistleblowers have always played a really critical role for making sure that they keep our government honest and that they are not violating our rights behind closed doors.
Well, Dr. Stein, and thanks to traitors like Edward Snowden, we've also lost agents on the battlefield because you've given up their identity of sources and methods. You talk about Donald Trump's non-plan for the Middle East. He's got a secret plan. But hold on, what is a plan? What is your peace offensive in the Middle East? Is that what's going to defeat ISIS? Just a little bit more peace, maybe some jobs for them? What does a peace offensive do to defeat radical Islamic terrorists in the Middle East?
Well, first, let's remember we've spent $6 trillion. That's $75,000
I understand what's
per
been done.
American
What's
household.
your plan?
So, well, I think it's important to be clear that more of a failed policy is not going to work. You cannot bomb terrorism out of existence. You have to starve it. You have to deprive it of weapons, and you have to deprive it of funding. So unfortunately, our allies, and arguably the CIA itself, have played a role in providing arms, training, and funding. So we need to freeze the bank accounts. Hillary Clinton herself, as Secretary of State, identified the Saudis as still the major funder of terrorist enterprises around the world. So it's time to get clear with our allies that they need to help us fight terrorism, and that means to stop the funding, the training, and the armaments. Most of the arms supplied to the Middle East are actually coming from the U.S. and our allies. We just sold $100 billion worth of arms to the Saudis, who can then distribute them wherever they like. So we can shut down this war because it's our weapons that have enabled it to be fought.
So you mentioned our allies. Both candidates agree our key ally in the region is Israel. You support a boycott of Israel, and you describe the government this way as responsible for, I'm quoting, apartheid, assassination, illegal settlements, blockades, building of nuclear bombs, indefinite detention, collective punishment, and defiance of international law. My question to you is, do you think Israel is more an outlaw state than, say, Cuba is? Which is a more legitimate government?
Well, let me say this. Our policy applies to all countries, and that is where there are flagrant violations of human rights, war crimes, assassinations, and international law, then we need to stop supporting those countries, to stop funding them. So we're calling for a level playing field here. Everything we say about Israel also applies to our ally Saudi Arabia, for example, or to Egypt. In the case of Israel, we are providing $8 million a day for an army, which is an army of occupation, which is in defiance of international law. So this isn't something that just I am making up. This is the actual statements of the United
But are you
Nations
making a
and
moral
international
equivalence
law.
between Israel and Cuba, where there are gulags and jailing of dissidents? I mean, are you making that moral equation?
Well, we're not funding Cuba to the tune of $8 million a day. And that's what our policy says, is that we need to stop funding and supporting those governments that are in violation of international law. Yeah, there's lots of human rights violations going on in Cuba, in the United States, everywhere around the
So
world.
a lot of Democrats
what
are
our
mad at
policy says is that we stop actually
I get it.
funding those countries.
A lot of Democrats are mad at you because they look at you as the Ralph Nader of this election. If you pull 3 points, 2 points, point and a half from Hillary Clinton, you could throw this race to Donald Trump. That's the argument they make. How do you respond to that?
Well, first, politicians don't have a new form of entitlement, an entitlement to our votes. They have to earn our votes. Right now, voters are not happy with either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. In fact, they are the most disliked and untrusted candidates ever. A poll today just showed both of them are distrusted by the American public overwhelmingly. And at the same time, the public is clamoring for more voices and more choices. That's what democracy is supposed to be about, and that's what my campaign provides in this election.
There you have it, Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Stein.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Up next, Donald Trump set to reveal his big economic plan tomorrow.